From the mist-shrouded fjords of Scandinavia, a new age was dawning. An age of longships, iron, and fire. This is the story of the Vikings, not just as the fearsome raiders of legend, but as explorers, traders, and settlers who redrew the map of the world. For centuries, the people of Scandinavia lived in relative isolation, farming rugged lands and fishing harsh seas. But by the late 8th century, a perfect storm of factors, population growth, political instability, and groundbreaking maritime technology, unleashed them upon an unsuspecting Europe. Their key was the longship. A masterpiece of engineering, it was both seaworthy enough to cross open oceans and shallow enough to navigate far upriver, striking deep into the heart of kingdoms. The year 793 marks the traditional beginning of the Viking Age. Monks on the holy island of Lindisfarne in Northumbria, England, were going about their daily prayers when dragon-headed ships appeared on the horizon. The brutal raid that followed sent shockwaves through Christendom. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle lamented, "Fiery dragons were seen flying in the air, and soon followed a great famine, and after that, the harrowing inroads of heathen men made lamentable havoc." This was just the beginning. For the next 3 centuries, Viking longships became a symbol of terror. They plundered monasteries in Ireland, besieged Paris, and sailed as far as the Mediterranean, even reaching Constantinople, which they called Miklagard, the Great City. To the victims, they were a divine punishment, a scourge of heathens. But was it all just mindless violence? Not entirely. The Vikings were shrewd opportunists. They targeted wealthy, poorly defended monasteries not just for gold and silver, but for captives to be sold in the sprawling slave markets of the time. What began as smash-and-grab raids soon evolved into something far more ambitious. Large Viking armies, like the Great Heathen Army that landed in England in 865, were not just raiding, they were conquering. In England, this territory became known as the Danelaw. In France, the Viking leader Rollo was granted a vast territory to defend against other raiders, a land that would become known as Normandy, the land of the Northmen. But the Vikings weren't just warriors. They were perhaps the greatest traders of their age. Their voyages were not always for plunder. Following the rivers of Eastern Europe, Swedish Vikings, known as the Russ, traveled south. They established trade routes stretching from the Baltic to the Black Sea, connecting Scandinavia with the Byzantine Empire and the Arab caliphates. They traded furs, amber, and walrus ivory for silver, silks, and spices. In the bustling markets of Kiev and Novgorod, cities they helped build, Norse merchants haggled alongside Greeks and Arabs. It was this network that laid the foundations for the first Russian state, the Kievan Rus. And their spirit of exploration knew no bounds. While their European cousins were raiding and trading, Norwegian Vikings were pushing the boundaries of the known world westward. They were masters of navigation, using the sun, stars, and even the flight patterns of birds to cross the treacherous North Atlantic. In the 9th century, they discovered and settled Iceland, a desolate volcanic island that became a republic governed by a parliament, the Althing, one of the oldest in the world. It was here, in the quiet isolation of Iceland, that the great Norse sagas were written down, preserving their history, mythology, and culture for eternity. From Iceland, the journey continued. Eric the Red, a charismatic but hot-tempered chieftain exiled for manslaughter, led a group of settlers even further west to a vast, icy land he shrewdly named Greenland to attract followers. But it was his son, Leif Erikson, who would make the most remarkable journey of all. Around the year 1000, blown off course on a voyage to Greenland, Leif and his crew landed on the shores of a new continent. They found a land rich with wild grapes, timber, and salmon. They called it Vinland. For a brief time, they established a small settlement, now believed to be Lance Auxiliary Meadows in Newfoundland. 500 years before Columbus, the Vikings had reached North America. The settlement didn't last. Conflicts with the indigenous people, whom they called Skraelings, and the sheer distance from home made it unsustainable. But the fact remains, they were the first Europeans to make the journey. So what happened to the Vikings? Why did the Viking Age end? There wasn't a single battle or event, but a gradual transformation. As Vikings settled in foreign lands like England, France, and Russia, they assimilated. They adopted Christianity, intermarried with local populations, and their distinct Norse culture began to fade into the new societies they helped create. The marauding raider became a Norman knight, an English farmer, a Russian prince. Back in Scandinavia, the loose collection of chiefdoms consolidated into centralized kingdoms, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, much like the ones they had once preyed upon. By the mid-11th century, the era of long-distance raiding had largely come to a close. The Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066, where an English army defeated an invading Norwegian king, is often seen as the symbolic end of the Viking Age. But their legacy is woven into the very fabric of our world. It lives on in our language. Words like sky, leg, window, and even Thursday, Thor's Day, come from Old Norse. It lives on in the DNA of millions of people across Europe and beyond. It lives on in the political geography of nations they founded or shaped, from Russia to Normandy, from England to Iceland. They were more than just pirates. They were explorers who crossed oceans, merchants who connected continents, poets who crafted epic sagas, and pioneers who built new worlds. The age of the Vikings may have ended 1,000 years ago, but their incredible story of ambition, exploration, and transformation continues to captivate us. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more stories from history. We'll see you in the next one.